Hello, everyone. My name's Angela from Angela Simpson Functional Medicine, and I want to bring to you today a topic that I find is so important and something that I think is not talked about enough for females in the age group of 40 to 60 that are starting to have some changes with their hormones and symptoms that go along with it. And one of the primary symptoms that does seem to get worse and worse over time, and it seems as though it's part of the cycle that can actually get worse as you go through menopause and you don't even have a cycle anymore. It becomes more consistent. And that is the symptom of brain fog slash concentration and memory issues, as well as fatigue. Now, if you are a cycling female, you might notice these symptoms coming on you more often after ovulation. So the back 2 weeks of your cycle before you get your period. And if you are through menopause, you might be noticing that this symptom is happening more often than not versus just a front half, back half of the cycle type thing. It might be more chronically there all the time. And I know I have had these symptoms before as well, and I understand how debilitating they can be. So I want to talk to you about what I have noticed in my practice as one of the main root causes of these symptoms and what you can start to do about it. And also the myths around this, because often we think as females that this is very much so related to our changing hormones. It's related to estrogen and progesterone primarily as they start to decline, and then they drop right off as we go through that transition into menopause, which is why we stop having a period. But what I will say is that this is something that can happen regardless of where you're at as you get closer to that transition into menopause from a hormonal perspective. And one of the main reasons has to do with imbalances in our blood sugars. And often this can become extreme. It can lead to things like insulin resistance and prediabetes and even diabetes. And so I see this becoming more and more common with women as they get into this age group. And one of the other symptoms that can go along with this, besides the debilitating fatigue and the brain fog, is that often women will also have weight gain. And they feel like it's almost unexplained weight gain, like they haven't done anything different. And again, the first thing that they do is blame it on their hormones changing because they see other women around them going through the same thing. And they're also in the same time period of life. So they say, why not? I'm going to blame it on my hormones. But the reality is that imbalanced blood sugars are something that have developed in many females over years and years and years. And they might have even developed as far back from as when you were a child. So I always make sure when I work with women that we take a very detailed history and we look all the way back to when you were a child. And I find quite often women will tell me, I ate a lot of candy, a lot of junk food, drank a lot of pop, or maybe I didn't do that, but I did eat a diet that was very high in carbohydrates, lots of pasta, lots of bread, lots of dairy. So dairy has fat in it, but it also converts to sugar with the lactose in it. So it also can have that same effect on our sugars over time. So we want to be thinking about what has happened up until now that could have actually led to these imbalances in the blood sugars. That are getting more and more aggravated as you get into this transitional time of life with your hormones. And what we'll notice often for females that are still cycling is that back half of the cycle, that last 2 weeks, is when the symptoms start to get worse. And the reason for this and how it actually relates to hormones with our blood sugars, I find very commonly, is that because women are noticing hormonal shifts and they start to get a little bit more fatigued, which is somewhat normal as you get into the back half of your cycle. You're not meant to actually have quite as much energy as you would in the front half of your cycle because estrogen levels are a little lower here. But what women often will do to try and make up for this is they'll eat more carbohydrates, more sugars, or they'll drink more caffeine as a way to try and keep that energy up and keep it going. But it does have a detrimental effect on your blood sugars. So if you do also feel like you're a female that might be craving certain foods and it might get worse at certain points in your cycle, you might be feeling like you're craving junk food or sugary treats, especially the week before your period. This is probably, again, related more so to imbalanced blood sugars than it actually is to hormonal changes. So we need to figure out why this is happening. And like I said, it can start all the way back from when you were a child. The blood sugars might have gotten dysregulated a long time ago. So they're not balanced. And so every time you eat a meal, your blood sugars spike and then they drop off rather quickly. And when they drop off too quickly, it makes you have that need for wanting to eat something again. It's going to give you that quick spike in your sugars, which will help you with energy. So it can end up being quite a yo-yo up and down with the sugars within the day, within the week, within month, and then years and years and years of this can start to cause changes to the actual numbers on labs. So again, we need to figure out where is this coming from. And it might be related to foods. So it might be that your diet is still possibly too high in carbohydrates, those pastas, those bread, craving sweet things. You might be drinking alcohol, which also converts to sugar. So some things to keep in mind there with foods, and you need to make some changes that way, and make sure that you're also incorporating in kind of those non-sugar spiking carbohydrates, which are going to be more in the form of your low starch vegetables, things like broccoli, cauliflower, salads, those kinds of things? Or is it possibly that you are eating a proper diet and that's not what's causing the spike in your blood sugars? It could be also related to things like stress and lack of sleep. And so, what these two things have in common is that they will start to dysregulate your cortisol levels over time. And cortisol, being our primary stress hormone, is something that if it's not regulated and balanced, it'll also cause our blood sugars to start to go out of balance over time. So high cortisol, which is more common when we have high stress or we're not sleeping enough, will actually equate to high blood sugars as well. So again, it'll make us crave more of those sugary foods, crave more carbohydrate. It's a way to kind of keep us going when we don't have those basic lifestyle principles in place that help to keep us balanced with our cortisol and therefore our blood sugars. So if this is you, this is possible that you might need to make some changes this way too. Another thing that I find is common for women that aren't regulating their blood sugars well and have these symptoms fluctuating at certain times in their cycle, or if you are postmenopausal and it's happening more all the time, these symptoms of fatigue, possible weight gain, and a lot of brain fog, it can also be related to not getting the right type or amount of exercise. So exercise is absolutely essential for regulating our blood sugars throughout the day. So if you're not getting any movement in your body, it's quite likely that this isn't allowing your body to move your sugars out when they need to be moved out. It might just be free floating and sitting in the blood and causing things to spike. And it often can even relate to symptoms from a mood perspective, such as like anxiety and irritability, that kind of thing as well, if our sugars are not well regulated and they're spiking too high, followed by times of it going too low. So it's really important for us to pinpoint for you, where is the root cause of your imbalance coming from, with the fatigue, with the brain fog, with the possible weight changes that seem unwarranted. Most likely it's going to be having some roots in blood sugar imbalance. So we need to figure out if we need to adjust your lifestyle to help you with this, or if we might even need to go deeper. So as a functional medicine practitioner, I find that this is most often the case. Many women have tried different things and they've done some lifestyle adjustments to get their blood sugars back into balance, and they feel somewhat better, but they still don't feel their best. And so quite often we need to look at what else can help you with blood sugar regulation. And quite often it also has to do with how well you're digesting. If there is any imbalances in your gut and your gut bacteria, quite commonly there is some sort of gut bacterial overgrowth, such as candida, and this can also cause some symptoms in regards to sugar cravings and cause our blood sugars to spike. And then often there also is some imbalances in our detox pathways in regards to our liver and our gut. And this can have a negative impact on our blood sugars over time. So we do need to do individualized functional lab testing to understand what's going on in this regard, to really get to the root of your symptoms and actually help to repair and heal the body for the long term. Often women, when they make lifestyle adjustments and they don't get the changes that they're hoping for, they get frustrated and they give up. But I do encourage you to go one step deeper by working with someone such as myself, a functional practitioner that is going to look a little deeper than those surface layer lifestyle principles and help you understand your individual root cause of your fatigue, your debilitatingly low energy, especially if it's happening in the back half of your cycle, probably in combination with brain fog, concentration, memory issues. And possibly it's also relating to either fluctuating weight or an increase in weight as well. So there is a way to get to the bottom of this. And if you want to learn how you could get to the bottom of it with me, I'm happy to connect with you on an individual discovery call. And we can talk about if it could be a good fit for us to work together, and also what your next steps could be to help you discover your root cause and get you back to feeling like yourself again, or even better. So you can reach out to me at my website, www.angelasimpsonfunctionalmedicine.ca. There is a link there to book that free 45-minute consult. Or you can also continue to watch me here on my YouTube channel. I hope you'll be back, and I will be bringing you more great content as in regards to perimenopausal hormone imbalances for females. All right. Thank you. Take care.